Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the brand new Ketuo Meridian. Got to check this one out at Blade Show, met the designer, super nice guy, and I absolutely love the design. So I'm glad I'm able to check it out and share it with you guys today. So in my opinion, it has almost like a sports car aesthetic. I love the overall profile of the knife. You have a nice full-size drop point blade on this one, and it's a pretty nice size knife. I would consider this a large EDC knife. It's coming in at 8.69 inches long with a 3.65 inch drop point blade of Bowler M390 stainless steel. Completely sterile blade like usual, and this is going to be a very versatile blade shape because of that low tip. You're going to be able to maneuver that tip if you need to, do some fine detail work, piercing, in-hand cuts. It could be a breeze. Pretty much everything you throw at it, it should be able to handle it and handle it well. You do have a small row of jimping up here. I would call it more of an indexing point than actual traction. It does offer a little bit, but I'd call it moderate. Not something I really care about, but I know some people do. Do have a pretty needle-like tip there. Great for that piercing and detail work we're talking about. This particular version has a very fine bead blasted finish, and it's got that nice silky smooth, slick to the touch feeling to it. And in my experience, the recent blades that I've tested that are like this, that have the extra finishing underneath there before they do the light bead blasted finish, they perform a next level. I have not had one of these rust on me yet, but I will let y'all know if I do. That's usually why I never really like the bead blast, because they open the pores for corrosion. But I'm starting to see that whenever the finishing is done to a better degree underneath it before they actually do it, I'm guessing it doesn't make it as porous. I haven't had any issues, but like I said, if that changes, I will let y'all know. You kind of have like a slicer grind with a little bit of flat back here that tapers off into a full flat, and it's ground nice and thin. Mine comes down to around 15 thousandths behind the edge, so this thing should be a slicing machine, and we're going to find out. Boy, Ketuo is 2 for 2. First with the Yakuza, now the Meridian. This thing is hair popping sharp. The geometry seems to be excellent, and once again, you know, like I said, I'm not always the biggest fan of a bead blasted finish. You know, until recently, I hated them. It was a complete deal breaker. But these ones that have the extra attention to detail before they actually do the blasting, it seems like it's not creating as much of a crater effect as, you know, leaving it rough and then hitting it with a hard blast. And the reason I say I kind of enjoy it is because there's no friction when I'm cutting. You know, I didn't really start to really notice it until I was cutting dense things, but everything I cut with these type of blades just glides through the material. So now we're going to test the ergos and see how that edge wants to bite. And as you can see, it's doing a fantastic job. It wants to bite fast, but I'm using as minimal pressure as possible. And it's kind of worried because of how much the handle tapers in the back, but being that it's a thicker handle up front, that's where I'm really squeezing down, and I'm able to get a lot of force. You know, it may start to fatigue your wrists and forearms after a long time, but as much as I'm doing here, if you need to make a quick feather stick, it's gonna be very easy. And this right when I hit that first cut of the 1/2-inch sisal rope, that's where I was like, yep, this thing's got bite. It's sharp as can be. And it was just like the Yakuza. The Yakuza was an absolute joy to test, and there's nothing better. Well, let me say this: there's nothing worse than whenever I get a knife from a company, they know I'm gonna be reviewing it, and it just comes either with a subpar edge or a terrible edge. Like that is miserable in all aspects. Because then I gotta let y'all know that, because, you know, I don't want, if that's a common occurrence, I don't want y'all to get a knife that's dull as can be out of box. But not the case so far with Ketuo. If that ever changes, of course I'll let y'all know. But man, it's just been very, very nice. I did have to swap to some smaller sisal rope because the place I get my rope from was out of the 1/2 inch, but they ordered me another case, which I'm going to go pick up probably after this testing. So yeah, I thought it was performing well. I would just because I had this piece on side of me, I figure why not. Like I always say, I'm not testing for edge retention. I just want to make sure, I want to see how it feels when I'm cutting all this material, how it slices through the material, and to see, make sure the edge just doesn't fall off like way prematurely. I like how they got that little kick up by the tip that makes all these cuts on a flat cutting surface a breeze, and absolutely nothing gave this one any trouble whatsoever. It was so impressive, so much fun to use, so much fun to test. And like I said, that was the exact same thing with the Ketuo Yakuza. So yeah, definitely love to test their stuff, and I give them an A++ for sharpness and performance. When it comes to the action of this knife, it's riding on cage ceramic ball bearings, giving it a nice and positive flip and a nice silky smooth flip. Got some jumps up there, a very comfortable flipper tab because it's canted back. You can either push it and it comes rocketing out, or you can kind of rocket it back. Whatever you want to do. You can even load up at the tip right there if you want. No matter which way you do it, it's got a very nice and positive break on that detent. Nice and smooth action. I have not taken this apart or anything, and it's got a nice controlled drop. I'm sure if I took it apart, I could probably make it a free dropper, but I enjoy it the way it is. Now let's check out the handle. Scales are made of titanium, nice and contoured for added comfort. Like I talked about during the cutting, it was extremely comfortable, no hot spots. I mean, even though the handle gets a little slim in this section right here, it was comfortable. Now, if you were to be doing cutting for a long period of time, that slimmer handle may start to fatigue your wrist and forearms, but for me, it was very comfortable. No matter which grip I hold this knife in, I find it to be extremely comfortable, and I proved that during all the cutting I did. You have a oversized pivot collar that is anodized gold, and then you have a decorative proprietary pivot there. Now, it is a proprietary pivot, but as you can see, you have a straight slot in the middle on both sides. Flathead opens that up, no problem. I've already made an adjustment to it just to see if I could, and it worked perfectly fine. You have the same thing on the opposite side. Blue anodized titanium hardware. Like I said, flathead, and then they went with T6. I would have much preferred T8 hardware right here, but it's not a deal breaker for me. I would much prefer to have all the same hardware so I wouldn't have to swap bits, but being that this is a flathead, I would have had to swap anyway. So it's not that big of a deal. It's not hurting the functionality of the knife whatsoever. You have a small, minimal titanium backspacer with the Ketuo logo there. Hidden lanyard post right here, and you have a 3D milled titanium pocket clip with the ceramic ball interface. And I'm not usually a fan of these, but this one has a perfect amount of spring to it, goes in and out of the pocket nicely, and it's pretty compact in the pocket. Now, if you do put something else in there, you do have a flipper tab that would rub against it. Not something I really worry about, but this one is tip up right hand carry only. Unfortunately, no lefty love there. There is no internal pocketing, but it's a very narrow scaled knife coming in at 122.8 grams or 4.33 ounces. I thought it carried nice and comfortable in the pocket. Ketuo does a great job of balancing the knife out. As you can see, it's perfectly balanced, making it a lot more nimble in hand, and it gives it a feeling of being a lot lighter than it actually is. The lockup on my knife is sitting at around 30 to 40% or so, and bank vault, no movement in any direction. Access to the lock bar is pretty good. It is flush with the show side scale, but you have a big enough chamfer on both sides that I can get my thumb in there no problem, especially when I'm using this portion. It's nice and comfortable for me to do it that way. Now for some quick size comparisons, it's a little bigger than both the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. The only knives I could really find that were pretty similar in overall length are the WE Knives Ziphias and the CJRB Large Pyrite. And it's also pretty much identical to the carbon buckhorn, and it's a good bit bigger than the Spyderco PM2. Now, for my nitpicks and complaints, I'm not a huge fan of bead blast, but like I said, it's usually because of the corrosion aspect. I hadn't had any issues with any of Ketuo's knives that I've had with these so far. And of course, I wish I would have had a bigger sharpening choil because it's already kind of starting to flare a little bit. I'm pretty sure after the first sharpening, this is going to start to get a little wider. I could easily fix it myself if I want to, because you have an internal stop pin. Also, I'd have much preferred T8 hardware, but since I already have this proprietary pivot and have to use a flathead, not that big of a deal. No lefty love. So my final thoughts. Overall, the Ketuo Knives Meridian is a stunning example of how exquisite design elements can merge with high-performance materials. Whether you're a collector or someone who appreciates a high-quality EDC knife, the Meridian is a fantastic choice that excels in both aesthetics and functionality. With its versatile blade that slices very well and its custom look and custom touches. So, what do you think? Is the Meridian going to make your wish list? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth reviews of the latest knives and gear. If you're interested in this one, I will have it linked down in the description. It will be an affiliate link, so if you want to help support what I do here on this channel, it helps me pay for my testing materials. I can't thank you enough. If not, it's not a big deal at all. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to check out some of my other videos on both premium and budget knives, along with a bunch of EDC fixed blade videos. Until next time, keep your knives sharp. Smile more.